Hello there. Welcome back to Around the Grid. We're currently at Alpha Tauri, our second team, and we are going to do a fairly aggressive strategy here, which we kind of explored last time around, which is that we're going to be focusing very much so on developing the car, and potentially here, if we get some good development going here, just potentially go for back-to-back championships. That's the hope. Are we going to be able to pull that off? Probably going to be a little bit difficult. Probably a little bit more than what we can hope for. As you can see, we are the third best team in terms of low and medium speed cornering, and that's probably going to hurt us here a little bit at Baku in terms of the current parts with manufacturing underfloor. We're still designing parts, and we're going to keep on doing this. I think until the halfway point of the season. Now, important thing to remember here is that the regulation changes for next year are going to be extremely harsh. You can kind of see it here, 37, 38, 38. I'm not sure what actually got the hardest hit. Was it the underfloor? Yep, the underfloor. So what I'm thinking that we're going to do here is something that's potentially a little bit silly, but we're going to basically keep on developing until, say, halfway through the season. Silverstone, Belgium, around there. And if we are in a position by then where we can't really fight for the championship, we'll do a complete switch over to research. But for now, I do want to keep on going with the gamble. The Verstappen team is the Red Bull team is incredibly strong here with Verstappen and Leclerc, and Ferrari too with Russell and Sainz. But I have some hopes that we might be able to do something. But of course, unfortunately, that's probably going to result in us needing to boot Danny Rick. So we'll have to see exactly how we're going to deal with that in the near future, because, well, currently it's Stroll and Show. Both of them were interested. We have Piastri as a free agent that we could go for, but the main thing that's going to cost a lot of money is actually the cancellation of Rick's contract, which is, well, 11 million. So I think we're going to just, as I said, go all in here for the first half of the season and see if we can develop a car that is championship material. And then hope that Red Bull starts falling off a little bit further towards the back. Currently, Perez has scored, well, all of our points. So we do need Rick here to kind of show up and score some points on his own if we want this to happen. But I think it could be something that would be fun to try. And as I said, it is a big regulation change this season. So I'm thinking we can gamble on that. And we're going to be gambling on both drivers in the top 10 for quali for 5 races. We do need the money. One driver in top 10, because that's basically where we've been at so far. And again, both drivers Q3, we're gonna gamble here because we're poor. And if that gamble goes wrong, we're gonna be even poorer. But if it goes well, we could be having a good time. Baku is generally a track where we do reasonably well, so that is why I've decided to do it like this. If you have enjoyed the series, please like and subscribe. If you haven't, that helps me out a ton. I need to start doing that, I think, to help myself out, so sorry for the plugs. But yeah, I think we're ready here. We're just going to jump directly into Baku. Let's see how this goes and if we can make something out of the car. Should probably just double check, since it's been a little bit here, that I have actually installed the correct pieces on the car, and it does look like that is the fact. We are lacking the suspension here, but again, this is basically a midpoint suspension, I guess you could say. One that we're gonna not use. We're gonna make another one that's better later on. What I want to check though is one more thing before we get going to Baku, and that is actually the Red Bull compared to our car. As you can see, we're not actually that far behind. They're the first in low and medium speed cornering, and we aren't actually that far behind in those departments. We are 0.22, 0.022, 0.020, and we are a little bit ahead into the high speed. So while things might look bad, it's not all bad here. Of course, the top speed here would be very valuable to have, but I still think that we can eke out something from this race, and potentially from this season as we keep on developing parts. We are going to have to consider, though, again, the question of research. We are at the big regulation change here. 25, 26 we get the big regulation. If we research, we're definitely going to be winning next year, but it's going to be a walk in the park. So I think doing 50-50, that we basically focus the sign halfway through the season, and then we go research for the second half, should be a decent way to balance it. So again, we're going to jump into Baku. Let's see how we do. We did fairly well for the quali here. Perez starts third behind Verstappen and Leclerc. Rick is down in 8th, which is unfortunate, behind both Ferraris and both Mercs. So it is what it is. We'll just have to deal with it. He is a little bit off the pace compared to Perez, but we have the sprint now. We're just going to go with a very aggressive strategy on the softs and try and make up as many places as we can as quickly as possible. Setups are decent here. They're not, anything super good or anything like that, which is the norm for sprint weekends. But even so, we should have decent enough confidence that we will not be suffering too much for the race itself. But of course, getting particularly Rick's confidence up high would definitely benefit us in terms of race pace. But for now, the goal is just going to have both drivers scores point in this sprint. So let's see how this start goes.
And it's lights out, and away we go.
To get the risk down before we wreck it into the first corner, that would be very important if we did. That's not what I want to do. It's a new bad habit I've developed. But we definitely have an okay start. Perez already launching an attack on Leclerc, actually getting it done. And even Sainz getting a little bit uppity there. So while Rick is still in 8th, that's not horrible. And Perez here does have a bit of a chance. It seems like Leclerc is a bit slower here. Everyone is on the soft tires though, so everyone should be about maximum pace going right now. You can kind of see it. We're falling back to further back from Verstappen. Rick's struggling to keep up with the cars in front. We've been seeing that a lot too. But honestly, we'll just have to try and make the best that we can out of the sprint. We are somewhat limited on options there. And for Perez, if he could get by Verstappen there, it would have been great. But honestly, sitting behind for another lap is not necessarily a bad thing. Same with for Rick, although he has actually kind of left Alonso behind. If we should be able to get Russell on the straight, but we are running out of energy. We're running out of fuel. Don't really want to go anything lower than 0.4 on sprints. It's my rule of thumb, more or less. And for Perez here now, we should be able to get the overtake done. And I think I want to gamble on deploying and see if we can create that 1 second gap in the twisty section. Maybe if we are lucky and aggressive enough, we might be able to give Verstappen the slip. If not, we are going to have to probably just sit behind and recharge for a little bit before we launch any attacks. And that might actually be here what we have to do with Rick, unfortunately. Sit back, recharge, and try and get some moves done. And that's kind of what we are going to do here with Perez too. We are going to get overtaken now, most likely, as a result. But sitting behind Verstappen and recharging the battery to full before we launch an attack, it's not a bad idea either. We do need energy, and that is probably the best way that we can regain said energy. So we'll do the same here for Rick and Perez, although Perez here we might turn to neutral now so he doesn't get left behind. Then also want to try and avoid bridging that gap to Leclerc, although it seems like he kind of got that going, which is unfortunate. But yeah, same here for Rick. Go neutral now, see if we can catch up. And we'll be trying to, of course, get as high as we can with our cars by the end of this. Looks like both of our drivers are safe. I'm very happy with that. We have a safety car. And Ocon and Hamilton has actually taken each other out, which is interesting because it involves Ocon. Honestly. Ooh, that is a lot of damage too. They might need to take other penalties. Let's get have a screenshot of that while we can. Yeah, that was a bit of an interesting one, and it does kind of play into Ocon's reputation, which is that he races teammates harder than his opponents. Interestingly enough, he also picked up the penalty, so we got that meme going too. 5 seconds for Ocon. But yeah, that was unfortunate. This does bunch up the field though, and it does give Rick a double jump up in positions. Does help up, does put us in a bit of a bad position now though, because we have Norris and Alonso behind us, who are better rated drivers in the game. So that's going to make things a little bit more challenging, but it shouldn't be too bad here. What I am thinking is that we can just prep, go push, we can prep, go deploy, and if we can, the best thing would be to just get going and getting some attacking done immediately after the safety car. Now, because Baku usually has a safety car, or 5 for that matter, starting on the soft tyre is not necessarily a bad idea. But, well, for the sprint at least. For now, though, we're going to speed along. Let's see if we can get the safety car sorted, and then we'll get going with the restart. Here we are. Safety car has ended. We are kind of live again, about to cross the finish line. And I want to see if Rick can, with just energy, fuel, and full push, maybe about getting eaten up here by Norris. That would be nice. But yeah, that definitely compromised him a little bit. Paris is doing well. He's actually fighting Verstappen right now and could potentially get an overtake done or, you know, crash out. It's one or the other. Yeah, or crash out. It's one or the other. Is that a puncture? No, it's a terminal front wings. That is Paris kind of out of the sprint. That is not good. That is very, very bad. So we're going to have to pit him. We're going to have to use the last front wing that we have. And we did jinx ourselves a little bit there, I'll be honest. But what was I meant to do? We're going to have to go for pitting, getting onto a new set of softs. Unfortunately, yeah, we are going to, I think, just have to tell him to don't fight his teammate. Let Rick by. Because otherwise, we're going to be losing so much time to the cars in front.
Let's have a look at that.
And I'm wondering who's going to be at fault here.
You can see how tight it is. And there, the cars make contact.
And let's be honest here, this hurts us way more than it hurts the Red Bull. I'll be honest.
So, crash, Max went out. Watch for David there.
And the reason why is simple. Leclerc's still in front. Rick might be up in port right now, but he's a tad slower than the rest of the pack, so to speak. Verstappen is down in... Well, Verstappen's going to have to pit too, so it's not that bad. But at the same time, this does mean now that we're going to be starting most likely from the back of the grid, come the sprint. Sorry, the race itself. That is going to hurt. Verstappen eats the penalty, but as I said, this hurts us more than anyone else. We also got suspension damage, so we'll be suffering for parts come the race weekend proper. Let's see if we can actually get out ahead of Verstappen at least. And the goal now for the sprint is going to be to just... Okay, don't know where the audio went there. Just going to be to try and catch up to the back of the grid, get past some of these cars. That would be nice. It is incredibly unlikely, though, which is why I was really tempted to just retire. But it is what it is. At least Sainz is overtaking Leclerc, so Ferrari's getting points rather than Red Bulls would be better for us in this situation. But as you can imagine, getting Perez down to 17th already, it's not a good look. And the race itself is going to be incredibly painful due to the fact that we're going to have to deal with both Merckx and Verstappen and then Perez. If any of them gets to jump on him, he is gonna suffer a lot. So
Okay.
yeah, it's not a good situation. Let's put it like that. Now Rick has actually put himself up into a decent position here, but the problem is we don't really have any energy to keep him there. And we are going to harvest for lap or 2 here, although Rick is probably going to get the overtake done here on his own. Nope. Not just yet. But yeah, potentially here with Paris, should say that set of soft tires would probably been more beneficial to 2 sets of softs for the race itself. But we didn't. And that is a little bit unfortunate, but for now we are going to have Rick try and make something happen here. Try and get the Ferrari. There we go. Got the first Ferrari. Let's see if we can get Leclerc too by the end of this, although Russell is clearly not giving up. Thought it was just a pass on the straight. Running side by side to Castle. That is suicidal if I've ever seen it. But yeah, we're going to have to try and catch Leclerc and Sainz here. Maybe Rick... the way Rick scores his first points is by having Perez get shafted. And doesn't seem like we suffered any powertrain damage. So at least I can take that with me as a small positive. But yeah, for now, we'll just try and stay ahead. I think we're going to be switching back and forth on the straights here. Kind of what you'd expect. And honestly, I would have kind of preferred that because that would have made it more likely that we will actually be able to catch up to the cars in front. We're probably going to have to use energy to just get up to them. Then stay a lap just recharging, kind of. And I think that is the only way we're going to make this work. It's either that or we just throw it away. Trying to push here, but as I said, I don't think we have any other choice. Run top up here behind Russell, maybe? Nope, we are overtaking him again. We're not willing to run second. Sorry, fourth rather than third. But honestly, running behind Russell here wouldn't be a terrible idea. It would allow us to save some energy, have Russell try and help us chase them down. But it looks like that just ain't happening. So, Rick here being extremely competitive. And this is also very risky, because this kind of increases the risk of, you know, crashes again. And it would definitely hurt us a lot if we did crash. So let's just run top up for now. We're just going to go for third. We kind of don't really have a choice. Although it does seem like Russell here is really pushing hard now. He immediately opened the gap. Luckily, we have DRS right here. But even then, I think the gap now is going to be a little bit too big for us to get him on the straight. We'll see, though. We do have, I believe, quite a lot better DRS than the Ferraris. But yeah, that might have just... my desire to hunt for a better position might just have thrown away third. Is what I'm trying to say. But we'll take the risk here. Let's just see how it goes towards the end here. We spent a lot of time on this sprint, but it has been interesting. It has been fun. And we'll try and cut away some of the less interesting parts from, well, the rest. We have actually increased the gap to Verstappen quite significantly. So I'll take that as a small win. I really went F1 TV director there, cutting away from Rick towards the end of the race. The sprint, rather. But yeah, fourth place. We'll just have to take it, but as I said, the crash with Perez and Verstappen hurt us way more than it hurt Red Bull. And it's going to make for a miserable race itself here now. Rick starting in 4th is great and all, but Perez down in 14th, again, it just stings. So we'll have to try to make the best out of it. I did, again, use a soft that I probably shouldn't have. Probably a little bit too much of a gambler in me. And the reason why I say I shouldn't have is because there's 4/10 difference between the soft and the medium. And that means it'll take a good 20 laps before these two tires become the same. And degradation is incredibly low here, to the point where, as you can see, you can run a hard tire all the way from start to end. And you wouldn't really see any big difference by doing that. So we'll see what we do here. We might do just something very, very standard, like running a medium to hard. That wouldn't be a bad idea. We could also run a medium into a couple of soft tires. That too is viable for... nope, clearly it isn't viable. I used a little bit too much on... Do I not have 2 soft tires for him either? No, I clearly don't. I have 4 mediums and hard. So yeah, we're kind of shafted with the tires that are perfect here. So soft into a medium. How would that look? Not really viable. As you can see, this would be a lot quicker. So we might just go medium to hard for both of them. The only thing else that we could do for Paris is start on the softs, go very aggressive, try and make up as much time as we can, then go over to either medium tire or, even better, probably the hard. This could also work as a strategy. I think that is a good option. The other things that we could do is go soft, then into a medium, and then into another medium. And try and make this work. And as you can see, it is quite a lot quicker. Well, not quite a lot, 7 seconds. But you get the idea. And if we set up the same strategy for, say, Rick here. That is the wrong set of soft tires. I need a fresh set. There we go. We could probably make his strategy too quite a lot quicker, by 4 seconds. It is slightly quicker than a 2-stopper, So for Rick here, we might just do medium, medium, and then soft. So I'm thinking that is the idea. We'll just start on the medium and then make a decision. For Paris here, we'll start on the soft tire. It is a little bit troublesome, but we'll try and make the best out of it. We're going to do, hopefully, a back of the grid to podium challenge somehow. But yeah, we'll try and make the best out of it. We could just do this with Rick, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We'll have to see, though, at the end of this medium, or basically around 10, 15, around here, how we're looking in terms of the gaps the cars behind. If the gap is there where we can pit, we'll probably do so, because again, it's potentially quicker. But it'll depend on our position. For now, though, let's just jump into Baku here and see if we can salvage this horrible, horrible weekend.
Here we go with the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go.
Lights out, away we go. Looks a little bit aggressive there. Paris is up into 16th. Could get Sargent here immediately, which would be nice. That means that we have that we've achieved that good start that we wanted, where we don't get jumped by anyone, particularly Verstappen, Hamilton, Ocon. And although we didn't get Sargent, we did get Schumacher, so I'll take that as a bit of a win. Rick here is sitting comfortably as well. Most cars here on the mediums, with the exception of us, Verstappen, and some of the midfield. So we'll have to see if we can actually bring those mediums as far as we want. For now, though, the goal is going to be incredibly simple. Get Perez up there. Kind of maintain with Rick. There's been an incident ahead of us. Debris on the track there. Which basically means we lost a couple of seconds to the front of the grid already. Okay. So there was a... Shocker there from Magnussen. I don't think that was the first incident, though, that caused the yellow flag, is the thing. Yeah, there we go. Bottas having a really bad time. First he wheel touches into the corner, and then he scrapes the wall. But it looks like he didn't actually... None of them suffered any permanent damage, so to speak. So that's going to be a little bit interesting. But Perez now should, even without DRS, have enough oomph to hopefully start jumping. But as you can see, there's been some nice gaps formed by this. And that is going to make our life a little bit easier in terms of getting overtake stuns. So I guess I should be grateful. I think these 1 second gaps, 2 and 2, is much better for us than anything else that we could hope for. So I will accept this current situation. It actually is beneficial to us, and we'll try and deal with it. For now, Rick, the goal, of course, is just to hold on to first place, stay in the DRS train there. For Perez, we'll keep on working our way forwards, and we'll see where we stand once we get closer to our first pit stop. We're getting increasingly close to that first pit stop. Perez has actually done a very good job here. He's up into 9th. And in terms of the tyre usage here, as you can see, the soft runners here towards the back are going to be pitting fairly soon, but none of the medium runners are. And if we take a look at the gaps here, 21 seconds is what we lose. We'd end up behind Sargent most likely if we do pit. But we are going to probably end up pitting within the next few laps. Now Rick here is running with the Ferrari of Sainz. But unfortunately, there's not really much we can do to give him the slip. And because of the fact that we've been fighting him so much, the cars in front are creating bigger and bigger gaps. And that is becoming a bit of a problem. But honestly, what we could do here too is just keep Perez out. Let him burn these tires all the way down, then put him on a hard stint, is what I'm thinking. We could of course see if that is doable at all. And honestly, as you can see, it is. It is potentially viable here. Would we lose a lot of time? Not really. Compared to the current strategy, we'd lose about 7 seconds. But again, the main thing here is if we pit, we are going to have to go through all of these cars again. Now, we're going to come out pretty far back, so we're not going to be losing too much time from that aspect. The tires are pretty much shot anyway. It's just not going to be too much time until we pit. So the choice here for Perez is going to be pretty simple. Do we pit him into the middle of this cluster here later, or do we pit him early, have him drop down to around Sargent, have a little bit of free air up to Ocon? And I think that is going to be the play here, that we do that. It's going to... probably be the best that we can actually do for Perez here in terms of strategy. So we'll be pitting him. He has made a good job so far. Rick's done decently well at holding on. But honestly, for Rick here, I think we're just gonna keep him on the one-stop strategy. It's just gonna lose so much time going through all of these cars that the one-stop strategy is gonna be quicker for him, just due to that. As you can see, Perez actually comes out ahead of Sargent, and we now have 6 seconds up to Gio, and then 6 seconds after Bottas and Ocon. So if you take that into perspective, Perez now should have plenty of free air to just move forwards, and in the meantime, a lot of these cars should be pitting because they are, again, soft runners. So let's say it takes not even 10 laps, 5 or 6 laps, they're still going to lose a decent amount of durability, and some of them might actually end up pitting. With that said, though, we're going to keep on doing what we have been doing. Although Sargent did get the overtake there on Perez, we should be getting him back immediately, so it shouldn't be a big issue. But we'll keep on working our way forwards and see where we're at towards once we get close to Rick's pit stop. We've reached the lap here now for Rick's pit stop. We're also starting to see cars pitting. Bottas here is a good example, but he actually pits out really nicely there to get out of out of our way, really. But I think we're going to stretch Rick here for one more lap, because when we do pit him 20-ish seconds, we're going to end up around where Perez is currently. So it's not really a bad spot, all things considered, but we have a couple of medium runners, so going one more lap shouldn't hurt, and that is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and pit him next lap. As you can see there, he's estimated to come out 16th. We just haven't been able to stay with Leclerc and Russell. We've just been fighting Sainz constantly, and it is just unfortunate, but if it was Perez, he probably would have been able to leave Sainz behind. We see Gasly pit here, so again, pitting early here now could probably help us, because of the fact that it'll give us more chance of getting undercuts going. So Rick here should come out, as I said, around Perez, comes out there in 13th. And as the cars in front now pit, he should be able to make something happen. And I think this is actually a good position for us to be in. Now Leclerc is setting the fastest lap. We have a red flag. This is certainly a horrible position for us to be. Of course, I must jinx. Oh, that is terrible. Yeah, that is a red flag. I agree. The car is basically broadsiding the track. That is a red flag. But yeah, that is horrendous for us. Can we make it at the end on the medium tire? We probably can. I don't even know what the best choice is here. But I think we're going to have to do just one pit stop. I think we can earn in that time. For Perez, it's going to be medium no matter what we do. Yeah, that definitely sucks. Everyone was getting to a point where they needed to pit. So if that red flag come 5 laps later, we would have been front of the grid. That is absolutely gut-wrenching. And I believe Verstappen made it ahead of us too. Yeah, it's up into 7th. A lot of soft runners, actually. That does create some potential options for us, although we should probably have done this a little bit earlier.
Okay, understood.
But yeah, that is that's heartbreaking. I don't think I've ever had a Baku as cursed as this. I shouldn't say that now. The next thing that happens is that we're going to somehow make it back to the front, and then our drivers are going to take out each other. That is probably what's going to happen now that I've absolutely super jinxed myself. But yeah, we're going to try and do our best to, of course, make our way back up into the front. Nothing much we can do with that. At least Perez did inherit his peak confidence. Rick still has high confidence. And you can kind of see that here in Perez just overtaking Verstappen
Now this is Sergio Perez.
Into the corner here.
The opportunity's there.
That's brave. But yeah, the goal here now is going to be very simple. Try and make our way up to the front of the grid. I think Perez does have the opportunity to do so. But the problem is, we can make these mediums last till the end. But they're going to be absolutely destroyed by the time we get there. So, yeah, this is going to probably be a little bit interesting. Now, we actually have Show and Alonso ahead of us, so we're going to need energy to get past them. So nothing much we can do there. Actually, same here for Rick. We're going to do a little bit of topping up. So yeah, we're going to try and keep working our way forwards. We'll see where we're at once we get close to the end of this race. We have yet another incident here. Luckily, once again, not involving our cars. It's Albon and a Williams. Just a slight touch, nothing too serious. In other news, Perez has fought his way back up into the podium places, but he does have a Norris on his back, which is going to have a better tire towards the end of the GP. There's just no way around it. We're not going to be able to catch the top 2 cars anyways. We are running a little bit quicker, but with just 7 laps to go, just no way that we're getting that done. Rick is up into 10th here, but at the same time, he too is kind of suffering from that same thing. Where he keeps on getting overtaken, and then they lose the gap to the car in front, and it has kind of been very painful for him. Although I don't know what just happened. I put the cameras on him for a second, and he just overtook everyone. But as you can see here, tires are kind of going for everyone at this stage. So while sufferers are going to keep on getting slower, it's gonna not be enough for us to actually catch the top 2 cars here. We can only hope for Russell to win the race, honestly. That's really all we can hope for. And for Ricky to maybe catch Sainz, Show, potentially Verstappen. But as you can see from Perez, he just can't get away from the cars behind. And that is a big, big concern here. So if we can keep this gap going, it's actually being extended a little bit right now. It could be Norris have used everything. Then we might be able to make something happen. Let's see what the difference is on this lap. 45.4. Could happen, but I think that was with DRS, so we'll have to see if this gap gets extended or, you know, eliminated. Sainz gets overtaken by Rick. So yeah, the medium strategy here really on a little bit of a tear, although I did leave Rick here with full push, which probably had an effect, let's be honest. So that probably did also help a little bit here. Does have DRS now on Show, and honestly, I don't think we're going to have a hard time getting any more overtakes done. Perez is not really catching the cars in front anymore. Well, I say... Well, I caught Russell, but not Leclerc. So as long as they DRS train off each other, no way that's going to happen too few laps. And again, the pit stop really, really did not benefit us in any way, shape, or form. So we're going to try and get Rick up a couple more places. We're going to try and have Perez defend against Verstappen. And as you can see, that's going to be probably a little bit of a hard job here. Verstappen now is going very aggressive, already opening up the gap to Perez. We're gonna have to use some. We're gonna have to deploy some here just to try and keep up and stay within DRS. Because if Verstappen leaves DRS, then there's no way we're catching him. And you can just see how much quicker it is. It's kind of insane, just how much quicker he can be. Verstappen setting the fastest lap of the GP, so that should kind of tell you how much of a bad situation this is right now. Rick also getting overtaken and kind of assaulted here. Can we fight that back? Let's see. We're trying. Did make it happen, but we don't really have energy to keep fighting. Perez has made it back into DRS, but even then, nothing is guaranteed here. And same for Ricky. He has two cars running side by side in front of him, and that's going to make it really, really difficult to get any overtakes done. So for Perez, we're going to push fuel. For Rick, we're just going to have to see when these two cars step aside. That's going to be his cue to attack. And we'll have to see if we can actually get something done with that here. We're just going to have to go for the deployment here. This is the best place to do it. Let's see if Perez can get Verstappen. If he does, and he did, we might have a chance. But as I said here, they're just running blockade. Although Rick did get one move done. I didn't really want to replay this. I want to replay the other one.
Up into third and
I wanted to see how Rick pulled off his move, because he's now up into second place. Sorry, not second place, fifth place. I'm so used to running it from the grid that it's kind of stupid. Okay, that's the move on Norris. I wanted to see the move on Show, but I guess we're not going to be allowed to have a look at that. But yeah, this is, I'd say this is a decent recovery from a pretty disastrous weekend. If we didn't have these issues, we might have had 2 cars on the podium. But it is what it is, and as I said, I think we can be happy with this recovery here. So yeah, we're gonna have I think a fairly aggressive season here. So I think we'll have probably a little bit more length on this one, because it looks like a lot of races are gonna be like this. Pretty competitive, pretty interesting. We did get beaten by Red Bulls again, which I dislike because, well, the Red Bulls caused problems for us in the first place, and then they get saved by a red flag. So yeah, unfortunate. As I said, I did mention that red flag. It could come back to bite us. It did. Paris made it back up to third, even with that. Danny and Rick in 5th here. And let's face it, we had a pit stop that most other cars didn't have to do. You can actually see it here. The cars that stopped once only pitted under the red flag. And in the top 10, we were the only ones who pitted before the red flag. So it sucks. It truly does, but we'll just have to live with it. There's no way around it. In terms of constructors here, we gain 30 points. Red Bull gained 45, meaning that we are still falling further behind. We're falling further behind in Ferrari too. But we're definitely the 3rd best team, so at least we can take that with us. Constructors, the fastest pit stops here, even with just, as you can see, 6 cars pitting, we ended up 3rd and 4th. So Stroll, Bottas, both quicker than us. But honestly, a DHL award is not something that we're going to be going for this season, so it doesn't really matter. Balance is looking good. We at least have some money back, although we are going to have to manufacture front wings. We're going to have to manufacture a new suspension, and generally just go through the... you know, as you see, we're lacking a side pod currently, so yeah. We are going to manufacture one, but no way we're getting this done before Miami. If we rush one, I think we can get it done before Miami. And honestly, every kind of second counts this. We are going to rush one. Because the way that it's 5 days, which means that on day 1 of the GP, which is practice 1, practice 2, you don't lock in your parts. So if it's 1 day over, you should be fine. So we're going to go ahead and rush that one. And we're also going to go ahead and make 2 more front wings, because we kind of have to. Just 2 for now. And with the final slot, we need to probably just go ahead and make a suspension. We need to get these back in order. So let's just go ahead and do that for now. Probably there are some other parts we're going to need too, but we are lacking in the manufacturing department. So we're just going to have to take this little bit of a pain here, if you will, and deal with it as best as we can. There's just no other way around it. But yeah, it's a shame that we had both side pods failing for the car, but it's kind of what you expect with the same durability parts. Sergio Valdez here is an interesting one, I think, because I think he's a new gen. Looks like a new gen. That should be a new gen, yeah. So let's go ahead and actually scout him. I want to detail scouting and see if this man actually has... Is he a new gen? Am I being very rude now to Sergio Valdez in real life? We'll see. But yeah, I really want to see his pace stats, because potentially he might actually be a better option than Danny Rick, as hilarious as that sounds. But yeah, for now, not much we can do. We're just going to have to prep ourselves for Miami. And as I said, this is going to be a fairly interesting season, because it's going to be a lot of competition. So if you guys want to see more of it, let me know. This is probably just going to be a couple of races like last time. Continue and design research. Okay, so the design center shut down. What's happening? We'll just have to deal with that, I guess. Miami Grand Prix prep, finish position. I'm going to say one car on the podium. Let's be a little bit brave here. And we're going to say that we're going to reach Q3. And both cars in Q3. It's free money, basically, so we'll go for that. It should work. And with that said, I'll go through practice, I'll go through quali, and then we'll see what we stack up for Miami. But as said, if you have been... this is probably going to be a little bit of a derail from this forward, particularly this season in particular, because we are now, again, in a situation that is very interesting, where we can kind of try and push from a very secure third position and try and push towards the win with kind of high stakes on the table, since this is also the big regulation. Yeah, so if you want to see more competitiveness in this season, let me know. But this episode is probably going to be an outlier because we spent a lot of time here at Baku, basically non-stop interesting moments, if you will. So yeah, just let me know what you think while we jump into Miami. We just finished qualifying for Miami. As you can see, we got second and sixth. Kind of what we're getting used to here. Decently here from Rick. Kind of the same in every session. We had kind of the same from Paris, although he did a pretty amazing one in Q3. He was even quicker in Q2, so a little bit unfortunate, but we'll take this. Promising for the race. Ocon somehow managed to pull his car up into fourth, so Rick and Paris, both of them lining up behind a Red Bull, so that's going to make for quite an interesting Miami session here, I think. And with that in mind, we're going to have to set up a strategy. So let's have a quick look again. It is actually kind of interesting that I have to focus a little bit more on the strategy now because of the fact that the other teams are more competitive than us. And if we have a look here, soft tires, 300 difference, so 10 laps or so with 3 tenths. 5 tenths difference for 200s, 25 laps. Get used to it after a while. Short pit lane. So we want to kind of try and stay away from the soft tire if we can. And doing a medium to hard is somewhat viable. But I think what's going to be a better option here is just a very classic two-stopper, medium, hard, soft. And I think that is going to be our best bet. The only other bet that we have is basically doing something like this with the hard tires. And as you can see, this one is 13 seconds quicker. We're going to do that for both cars, so we'll just use Dan and Ricky as more of a marker. And we'll be pitting them both as we pit him. It's just me being lazy and not setting up strategy for both, but we're going to put both on basically this strategy right here. Unless we have, you know, more horrible moments like Baku. I think I'm traumatized, but yeah, let's just jump into this. It's pretty simple and straightforward. I did also remember to put on the new sideboard here for Paris. As you can see, we did get that second sideboard made in time, which is very, very good. So the cars are equal. Let's jump into the race here, see if we can pull something out of the hat.
57. Here we go with the Miami Grand Prix. And it's lights out. And
Not the best start there. A little bit slow there compared to the Red Bull. But Rick's looking good, particularly seeing that he's fighting a
Okay, understood.
yellow flag. Luckily nothing that involves us, I think. I hope. Schumacher in the back with his Haas buddy, maybe? Or did he lock up and take out the Williams? Nope, they banged front wings. Steiner's going to be losing his mind by now. He's actually going to be... he's actually going to be able to, you know, ready to take someone out by the time this season's over with both Sargent and Schumacher in their in the cars here. And Rick is actually challenging quite aggressively here on Leclerc. Even though Leclerc is on the better tire, it's going to fade quick. So if we can get ahead of Leclerc and make him waste that soft tire, that would be perfect. Rick is definitely doing everything he can to make that happen. Did actually get the overtake done. And Verstappen is on medium tires, Ocon on softs, not a lot of soft runners here. So our choice of going on the medium is probably going to be the better option for us as a result. Now with that said, we are going to kind of settle into our roles here, if you will. I was worried there for a second that Perez caused the virtual safety car. That is at least the Alfa Romeo out. Might also be Norris out, we'll see. Yeah, both of them out. Alonso and Norris, so... Kind of impressed that we didn't get a safety car, but at the same time, this is actually pretty good so early in the race. And while it's, you know, negative that cars are out, I'm not advocating for that. It does benefit our team. So we'll see where we are, see if we can get a good restart, and probably push onwards until the first pit stop. Unless, of course, we have some more incidents. So far, things have gone actually incredibly well. We're getting very close to pit stops, just a couple of laps out. But as you can see, Paris is running in first, 5 seconds down to Ocon, another 3 seconds down to Rick. And the reason for this is twofold. Paris got up into first, but Ocon here with his fresh tyres actually ended up holding up Verstappen enough that we could create a bit of a gap. And as a result, Ocon got by while he still had fresh tyres. And then Verstappen has just kind of slowed down, fallen a little bit behind, kind of been held up a little bit by Rick. But this is definitely a good situation for us to be in. And Ocon now, as he's going to be slow, it's going to be hurting Rick a little bit, but let's face it, Rick's not going to be exactly quick with the old tyres that he has. And the longer Ocon stays out, the better for us. As long as he's... as long as he's holding up Verstappen. So the question now becomes, when do we pit? So Rick here, when he pits, going to come out probably behind everyone. So holding off on pitting for a couple laps would be good. But honestly, when we pit, if we can come up ahead of Magnussen and Giovinazzi, that would be good. So to run for a lap or two more would be neat. And Rick is actually getting some overtakes done. But yeah, I think that we're going to be pitting on this lap. We just don't really have an option. And we're going to be pitting him onto the hard. Now for Paris here, I think we're going to stretch that with another lap. So we'll pit Rick on this lap, and then we'll pit Paris on the next. Paris has a lot more to go on here. As long as he comes out ahead of Stroll, I think we'll be happy. So yeah, I think we're in a pretty good position right now. Rick will be able to fight Verstappen, Ocon, the entire shebang here, although that looked weird. Why did we slow down that hard? Yeah, let's see if we can come out in a good position. We can't. A little bit of a slow pit stop there, out in 13th. So, not the best. But it could have been worse. So, we'll just have to live with that. Hopefully, Paris can have a little bit of a better one. That Rick did take the brunt of the bad luck. So, let's see here now. If we could sneak out ahead of Stroll, that would be neat. And actually, we sneak out ahead of Albon, so even better. If we can have DRS now while we warm up these tyres, that would actually be pretty good. And Hamilton here might actually be the first victim for these fresh hard tyres. And that'll also help with building confidence a little bit. So, not really a bad spot to come out, honestly. As long as we get the overtakes done in quick succession. Now, Rick is going to have a little bit of a harder time, I think, potentially. But he too should have no problem just flying by these cars. And the quicker we do so, the better. Because that'll allow us to catch up to Verstappen. And if Rick can, say, jump Verstappen in the pit stops, that would be the best thing there is. For now, though, we'll just keep on working on this, and we'll see where Rick is by the time Verstappen ends up pitting. So, Leclerc and Ocon just pitted. They were running with Verstappen. As you can see, Rick is pretty far ahead of them. And as a result here, for sure with Paris, we're going to be way ahead. And for Rick here, if he can keep this up, well, he's already within the pit stop window. We actually see Sainz pitting here. But this definitely is good news for Rick. We're of course going to be pitting once more, but as long as we can kind of run out ahead and create gaps, that would be good. Perez has been stuck behind Russell a little bit longer than I am comfortable with, so let's just push him by. Rick does the job on his own, don't really need any help. But you can see that the gap to first place is getting smaller and smaller, and that is kind of the idea, that we'll get as much out of these tires as we can, then jump onto the soft tire towards the end, and just kind of beat them up, I guess is the best way you can put it. And Perez is already almost caught up with Verstappen, so he's looking really, really good. Rick there is fighting with the Mercedes of Hamilton, but I don't think Hamilton can, cause any fights there on a medium tire. And with 12 seconds now behind the leaders, when Russell and Verstappen pits for that matter, Rick here will be jumping both of them. So, pit stop strategy so far, working pretty nicely. We've had another incident here between Magnussen and Alpine. Just a minor bump, luckily, so nothing that throws a wrench into our plans. So at least I'll take some solace in that. But yeah, currently things are still looking good. Perez has overtaken Verstappen, created a little bit of a gap. Rick is still running a little bit further back, but again, should have no problem jumping him in the pit stops. Sainz is chasing us down on the soft tires though. He's also going to be pitting again, and it's going to be an interesting fight between us and Sainz. Leclerc, I think, can make it to the end of these mediums, so we'll have to see exactly how this plays out. I really don't want Ricky to act as, you know, a pulley to these guys, but we'll have to see if we can maybe create a gap on the next lap. Ideally, we'd like to be behind when we get to the DRS detection point. Although it looked like Sainz had DRS there anyways. And he gets the overtake on Russell done easily, but yeah. We'll try and make the best out of it again. Rick is going to have a harder race than Perez. Perez is kind of just doing his own little thing right now. That is very good. But we'll try and make, as I said, the best out of this. Verstappen has finally pitted. Rick is running in second right now, but he is getting kind of hounded here by Leclerc. And that is a bit of an issue. And Verstappen has actually opted to a one-stopper medium to soft tires. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that actually, you know, plays out in the long run. He's currently 31 seconds behind Perez, and Perez has 15 seconds down to Leclerc and Rick. So I say so far it's looking really, really good for us. And hopefully here we can actually still get something to, you know, work out our way when we finally do pit for our soft set. We're getting very close here now to the pit stop, and I'm actually thinking of pitting right now. As you can see, Leclerc's actually pitted onto a soft tire of his own. A lot of these cars actually have. And that does put us in a very compromised position, because when we pit, we're going to come out behind Leclerc, meaning that we're going to have to do 4 overtakes, 5 if you include Ocon. Perez should be fine though, we should have just Ocon to overtake. So we're going to be jumping in with Rick this lap. And as you can see, it should be potentially 2 seconds quicker a lap from the get-go. And we should be able to chase down the other soft runners. That's going to be the idea anyways. We're also going to just get Perez in there, I think. Well, let's just extend it by a lap. There's no real rush for Perez to get in. He has the gaps to work with here. And Rick here getting hit with another extremely long pit stop. That's gonna hurt. We definitely need to work on just getting, not really the pit stop times down, but the pit error chance down, because that is 2 out of 2 for Rick. And if Perez hits the same kind of pit stop error, he'd end up behind Verstappen. So that is painful. But let's see now if Rick can actually do some pretty good flies. I am tempted to kind of have him try to push next lap, try and set a new fastest lap, because he does have the gaps to make that happen. Let's see now if Perez is luckier than Rick it was. He is. So that does help us in that regard. But yeah, we will try and snatch fastest lap now with Rick. Full push. Doesn't have a lot of energy, don't get me wrong, but should have decent enough stores that we can go for a push here and potentially now fastest lap. Doing 29.6s, same as Leclerc, but a lot quicker than everyone else ahead of him. So potentially here we could end up catching at least Russell, maybe Sainz, Leclerc. We'll have to see how much we can make up here in terms of space. And Perez still out in front, still with a huge gap, no real concerns there. For now, we're gonna have Rick try and chase down the Ferraris, the Red Bulls, and the Merc that has snuck out in front.
Heading down the straight.
So Rick has caught up with Sainz and Verstappen. And he actually pulls a move on Sainz into that corner. And as you will see here, just DRS is past Verstappen as well. So he's actually very close to that podium. Sorry, not Verstappen, Leclerc. DRS is part of Leclerc. So we're getting very, very close here. He's actually running really, really, really rapid. He's gaining around 2 seconds on the cars in front. So it's very, very likely here that with just 3 laps to go, if he can keep this up, he will at least get a podium. Verstappen might be a little bit too far ahead. But if you consider that he's at 4 seconds pit stops, 8 second pit stops, then you can kind of see where we lost all of the time. And the tires will survive to the end, so that's not actually a concern either. So although the pit stops here were kind of our Achilles heel, it's definitely not been a bad race, and we might even be able to snatch that second place as well, because we are still running really, really rapid compared to Verstappen. Of course, some of it is due to the fact that we've had DRS for most of the laps. But I am curious now, what is our time going to look like? Because if we can actually catch up to Verstappen, we should be able to DRS past him on that final straight. And that is kind of what we're going to be hoping for here. Let's push fuel and see if we can close down the gap and snatch our first 1-2 for the season. Hopefully. So yeah, we are actually really close. I'm going to allow him to use energy now because we're getting really, really close to the straight. And we want to stay close and make the overtake happen. And Rick does make the overtake happen. I'm a little bit worried about fuel though, so let's just put that down. And even with everything that was thrown against Dano Rick here, he did make the comeback. So this does give me confidence for the future. We might just be seeing seeing the light. We might see that we have a bit of a chance here. Now, Red Bull finished 3rd and 4th, so they mitigated damage here. Ocon in 5th, then the 2 Ferraris. Williams with Tsunoda, making up 10 places here, scoring points. That's pretty massive. Bottas scoring points for Alfa, and Hamilton also for Mercedes. So with that, Perez moves up in the Driver Championship, but considering that, you know, 1st and 2nd place is Red Bull, we still have a long way to go. And that was our first race win this season, so we'll definitely have to, again, be happy about that. We do gain a bunch of points on Red Bull. In this case, we gained 17. If we can keep this up, we are going to catch them, but yeah, that's going to require some form that we probably are not going to be able to pull off. And you can kind of see the issue here with Rick here. Not only is he cursed, but he did make it work, let's be honest. So I'm going to have to probably take another look at the pit crew, see where we're at in terms of error chance, because it does seem fairly high. And that is a bit of an issue. Front wings, side pods have been manufactured. We have some inspection fails. But what I wanted to have a look at here is, again, the pit crew. Now, this isn't actually a bad pit boss, let's be honest. He's the sporting director, but honestly, for the purpose of the game, he is a pit boss. So I don't know how we want to deal with this. As you can see, the crew is, in theory, weary here. But 10% chance, and we hit that twice in a row for Rick. So yeah, we should get this a little bit lower, get it down to 5% or so, and then we can start working a little bit on time. So we have Emilio Romagna in 11 days. We also have a new ATR period. We're going to use this on a part. I need to figure out which one. And we have a failed front wing, chassis, and suspension. So yeah, this is definitely gonna cause a little bit of problem, but at least we had a spare chassis. We're gonna go ahead and make another one. Front wing, we have spares now. Should probably just go ahead and make another one here too. Most parts do take 8 days to make, so after we made the front wing, we can make something else if we need to. We need rear wings, we need sideboards, we're making that. We need we need the suspension. I think we're making the suspension of the sideboard. Yeah, we're making the suspension of the sideboard. So we're just going to finish the suspension and start another one. So yeah, it's definitely a bit rough going back to teams that have lower factory counts, but we are getting close to 2nd place. We are closing in the Red Bulls, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this season is going to develop for sure. And as I said, probably going to have a little bit closer look at it, kind of what we have been doing, until we have, say, an incident, until we have a car that dominates. Basically, if we can securely get both cars on the podium, we're going to go back to the you know, compress the season into 2, 3, 4 parts maximum. But right now, when we have a fairly suspenseful and competitive season, I kind of don't want to do that. I feel like I'm doing everyone a disservice if I did that, but it might just be me that find it more fun. And honestly, that's the point of the game, right? To have fun. So I'll do it the way that I find to be fun. Nothing more, nothing less. front wing has been developed, and what we're going to go ahead and manufacture here is that sideboard. And that should, unless I'm mistaken, give us an extra piece of everything going into the Emilia-Romagna weekend, and that should make life a little bit easier. Now, we are losing out on parts here. There's just no way around that. So, I'm a little bit unsure what I want to develop with that safety time. Smoothness and control. Honestly, I'll take it. Of course, it would be nice if they grew a bit more, but they are older drivers, so honestly, we should be happy that they have any growth at all. And in terms of pit crew training here, we're going to just go custom. I'm going to set this up quick. We're going to be focusing on, again, just minimizing that error chance. So I'll set that up quick, and then we'll see where we're at. So here we are. We set up a kind of pit training here that basically leaves most days well rested, with the exception of, the race weekends. But generally here, we should be perfectly fine with 33, 35, and 33%. We are focusing again on error chance. We're going to be lessening it by a little bit here. A little bit of this is also the fact that we're going into this tired, so we do lose a little bit extra due to that. But there's still a decent gain here across the board. That's kind of what we're looking for. 5, 5, 4, 1. Probably want to have a little bit more on the jacks here, but honestly, balancing things out a little bit now would be nice. So we'll go like this. We'll lose a little bit of time on pit stop times, car building, but again, getting that error chance down now with just how much effort you have to put into lower pit stop times is probably going to be more beneficial in the long run. Again, that is what I'm hoping for. We'll have to see if it actually comes to fruition, though. Which, of course, it could always not do, but I have a hope. Underfloor and chassis are in low stock, so it is because, well, I feel like having, as long as you have at least one extra, they're not really in low stock, but I get the idea of the game, let's be honest. Design center improvement. Now, this is an interesting one. Having 2 extra projects right now would be amazing, but it doesn't work if your facility condition is horrible. And as you can see, even if we agree to it, it's going to take us 32 days to refurbish. Honestly, we probably should have refurbished a lot of this stuff because it is absolutely destroyed. But I'd rather just go for the upgrade later down the line. So for the time being, we're just going to have to live with it. Should probably refurbish the race sim though, even though again, the main problem with us doing a lot of these things is money right now. So we're not going to do any of it. The weather center, if we get a rainy weekend, we're gonna I'm gonna refurbish this one just because if we get rain, 24%, that's not numbers I want to play with. I still have nightmares of having no idea if the rain is going to hit us in 22. So you can imagine my reluctance in getting down to 24%. But yeah, for now, we're just going to have to deny the budget because it doesn't actually benefit us if we do this right now. We'll get extra engineers, yes. We will not get the project capacity, and because of the lack here, we're not going to really get any boost. So we'll deny it. It would be nice to have. Honestly, we could take, we could approve of it, refurbish, and then get. I don't know if you actually get it if you don't get it immediately. So there's a couple of things that is, of course, concerning with that plan. So we'll go ahead and just say, not now, maybe later. Now I am going to go ahead and manufacture a couple of rail wings here, just so we have those spare too. And let's have a look here at the scouting having been finished. So Piastri is a free agent. Let's see what his stats look like now. Pretty decently balanced on the pace, but control, smoothness. The smoothness is a little bit too low for us, honestly. He won't be doing that much better than, if at all, better than Rick. So that's gonna be a no from me, unfortunately. Show is gonna be again pretty pricey to buy out. Performance-wise, though, he is pretty decent. 91 cornering, 81 braking, 89 reactions, got an 85 smoothness, accuracy. He would actually be a pretty decent upgrade compared to Danny Rick, just from a stats perspective. And that is all that I'm going for. As you can see, Danny Rick's pace stats are all under 80. Accuracy is the same. So Show here would definitely be a bit of an upgrade. Let's see how Stroll would do if Stroll would be an upgrade. And honestly, Stroll would be 2. Adaptability at almost maximum, control a bit high. I think I honestly would pick Show over Stroll, though, in all honesty. But yeah, Stroll ain't too bad in this case either. What's his contract like? He's actually cheaper to buy out, so yeah, we do have some potential options there. But for now, we're just gonna have to stick with what we have because financially we can't afford it. So if we're gonna switch them out, it's gonna have to be towards the halfway point of the season, when we're probably gonna be making the decision of how we handle this anyways. So it's going to be a little bit rough. I think we're just going to go ahead and manufacture another underfloor, I think. Because I think that is the next piece that's going to, you know, fail, if you will. So we're just going to go ahead and make sure that we have as many parts as we can backed up here. And suspension, we did just lose one. But it is, again, one of those pieces that when you crash, usually fail alongside the chassis. And the sidebars generally don't fail in this game when you crash. It's very rare that they do. If your sidebars are gone, the rest of your car is usually gone too, to put it into that perspective. But honestly, because I spent so much time on Baku and Miami, we're just gonna have to end this one after just 2 races. I know it's way less than what I usually do for this series, but I want to ask again the question. We have a very interesting and potentially entertaining season ahead of us. I could condense it into, you know, 2 videos. But if you'd like to see more of this, as it is, let me know in the comments. If you'd like me to go back to how it was before, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to accommodate to some degree. But again, I'm enjoying this right now. It's fun. I'm probably going to keep doing this, but I still like, of course, your input. So thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed, and hopefully I shall see you next time. Bye bye.